For now, breaking news out of Arizona, where the Pima County Sheriff releases a new statement on the investigation into Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping. This comes as investigators are looking at a black glove found near Nancy Guthrie's home. The FBI says the glove does seem to match the pair worn by the suspect in this now widely seen ring in this doorbell camera video, and it contains DNA evidence. CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez live for us in Tucson. Andres, tell us about this new statement from the sheriff.
Well, Sarah, just moments before we came on the air, the Pima County Sheriff says that the Guthrie family has been ruled out as possible suspects in this case and shared a statement, and I'll read it to you. Quote, "To be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it's cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I'm begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism, which is what we here at CBS News have been striving to do." All of this comes as investigators are using forensics to close in on a suspect. The FBI says that investigators recovered 16 gloves from the neighborhood where Nancy Guthrie lives. One of them matches the one that
I think it's far too early to exclude anybody. The investigation is, no arrests have been made. Everybody that's close or knows Nancy should be not cleared until every rock is turned, until there is a proper arrest, a correct arrest made. But just to clear them because now the sheriff is claiming that they're a victim. How are they victims, right? We don't know. Annie and her husband was the last to see Nancy alive. We don't know if they knew or not. We don't know if they're involved or not. I'm not saying they are, but they got to. You can't just clear them. And even though the sheriff made that statement, I believe the FBI has probably got a different agenda. I believe the FBI is still going to investigate them because you can't rule anything out at this point. You can't rule anyone out at this point. I know it's been 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, but you have to everybody has to be on the table. Everybody has to be on the table. Because we do have some evidence that there are multiple individuals involved in this conspiracy. This is more than one person, more than 3 people, maybe. Could be we talking 10 to 20 people, maybe even more. I mean, honestly, I think it's too early to just say, you know what, leave the family alone. Don't invest. They shouldn't be looked at as suspects, even though you have not verified with video or eyewitness or physical that the husband actually dropped off Nancy. There is no actual proof of that. All we know is the garage opened at 9:48, closed at 9:50. That's it. So that is, to me, you got to stay on the board. You got to stay on the board until arrests be made, because you might find somebody who might blow the whistle and could take down everybody. So you don't know who's involved, right? So I think this is just such a early call. I believe maybe or maybe not. Is the sheriff protecting the Guthries? Could the sheriff department be involved? I mean, Tucson is a very small town. Everybody knows everybody there. And stuff does like that just don't, something big like that, everybody has to pretty much know. So I don't know. Let's go. So I just don't think, I think with that statement, I believe he's protecting the Guthries from being investigated when they need to be investigated. I'm not saying they did it. I don't know if they're guilty or not, but I do believe they need to be questioned a little bit further. A little pressure needs to be put on them because, you know, they might know something. They might know something. So let's get to it.
For now, breaking news out of Arizona, where the Pima County Sheriff released.
So let's go to another video. Then we'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that one. So we're going to go to another video because there's another video showing that, you know, that there are more than multiple people involved. Could be an organization. Yes. Let's go. Walk to the show. Walk to the show. So yeah, this video is going to be talking about the letter that the TMZ received from one saying that they know or are aware they've seen Nancy with them. And there's a main guy, and then there's them. Speaking of an organization could be possibly, potentially, you know, involved.
Has received another email from somebody demanding money. This is somebody who says they have been trying to get in touch with Savannah Guthrie's sister, Annie, and Savannah's brother to no avail. And they are now saying that they have information about who the kidnapper is. And they are demanding money. They want 1 Bitcoin, which is around $55,000, $56,000, you know, depending on the hour. They are saying at the end, time is more than relevant. So they have a Bitcoin address, which we have verified is real, and that they want 1 Bitcoin deposited. So in return for giving information about the identity of the kidnapper. Now, again, this is not somebody who says they've kidnapped Nancy. It's somebody who says they know who has. We have no idea if this is authentic. We have forwarded it on to the FBI, and they are looking at it. And we got this early Wednesday morning. Beyond that, we have already told you that there has now been activity in this Bitcoin account that was included in the first ransom note that we received. We are not saying what kind of activity, how much money. I know there is another story out there about that. We are not going to comment on that. We gave our word to people and involved in this case. We are going to honor that, but only to say that there is activity, and that means something. A couple of other points. There has been a lot of talk on social media about who may be behind this kidnapping. And I'm just going to kind of put this on the table, that there have been people pointing to various people in the family. You know, when we do this, when we talk, you know, on television, on our website, on our, you know, digitally, on our social media, I think we should be addressing people on social media and not just people who are watching traditional media, because social media is where a lot of people get their information. And I know this is swirling on social media. So I just want to say this, that we do not have any information, that would implicate family members. I am not saying that it's true that somebody may be involved or not true, but I am telling you that we have spoken with numerous people. We are not hearing anything about that. I know there are lots of stories out there that so-and-so is being looked at or whatever. I am telling you, we've gone down that path. We've asked questions. We have absolutely no basis to say that is true in any way, shape, or form. So in terms of leads, to me, there are three leads right now. One is, given the videos, we know that this is somebody who is somewhat stocky. It is a male. It's somebody who has a mustache and either a goatee or a beard. And um, law enforcement has told us, people involved in this investigation, that they believe that whoever took Nancy is from the Tucson television area. And that's why, or one of the reasons why, they were sending notes, not just to us, but to local television stations there. So at least now they've got that description. On top of that description, if the email that we received is written by the same person who came to Nancy's door the night she was kidnapped, um, it would be an intelligent person based on the construction of that email, as well as somebody who is tech savvy. So, in terms of people calling authorities with clues, it is somebody, it would seem, who is tech savvy, who is intelligent, who is somewhat stocky, a male with a mustache and either a goatee or beard. That is something. And there may be something identifying about what that person was wearing. So that's one path. A second path is Bitcoin, and I will just leave it at that. And the third path is, one of the things that authorities do all the time when they get a video like this of somebody who they believe is the kidnapper is they look at what they're wearing and they try and find out, where did they buy it? So, you look at the gloves and they seem bizarre, and there are things about the getup that are unusual. And so, if the authorities can figure out where these things were purchased, because you look at that and is it something somebody would just have in their house, or is it something they would go out to buy within a fairly narrow time frame before actually doing it? And a lot of people who do that think, okay, I'll pay cash and therefore there's going to be no record of me buying it. But there are records that many stores have where they can find out who purchased an item like that and when. And if there is surveillance video in the store, if they bought it at a big store like a Home Depot or something like that, and they can find out even when somebody purchases something with cash, if they have a time frame on when they purchased it, authorities have often gone to the store, gotten surveillance video, looked exactly at that time, and sure enough, they have somebody going to the cash register with that item, and that becomes almost a smoking gun. So the person who did that is not going to walk in completely masked, because that in itself creates an issue. So if they came in street clothes and bought any one of those items, then that could be a real way, and a way that authorities have done in many cases in the past, of identifying who was at that door. So,
and once again, it is still early in the investigation to clear anybody. Can't clear nobody yet. Everybody's on the table. Everybody, even the dog is on the table. Damn it. Everybody's on the table until they get a proper arrest, the correct arrest. And then we can go from there. But you're just saying, oh, well, they're just cleared because they're victims. We don't know if they're victims. They could be victims. They could be participants. Who knows, right? Who knows? But we do know they're the last. Annie and her husband was the last people to see Nancy alive. They were the last ones to see Nancy alive. And until that's verified that he actually dropped her off, then they got to be on the table. They can't be off the table.
A certain ethnic background, like sometimes you're not in CODIS, but they can tell stuff from your DNA about like what you might look like. That can be super helpful. Sketch artists can work off of that. And NBC did a whole feature on this where they came up with a mugshot for Andrea Canning just based off of like the DNA that didn't show it was Andrea Canning. It's not like she's not in CODIS. And it was very good. It was a very solid portrait of her. So the DNA, even without a match, could be potentially helpful, but you'd have to know it's the perpetrators. Just DNA off of the gloves is not that interesting. It has to match something that tells us it came from the crime scene. And we're not there. I wanted to round back just for a second on the search for suspects. Again, these three people from Friday night, not ruled out, but Winter reports they're moving on. But he also reported they're leaning away from the family members, and my own reporting conflicts with that. On the subject of the brother-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, who's married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister. Nanos, in his interview with the Daily Mail, said the following: nobody has been cleared, including the workers at Guthrie's home, the people who were recently the subject of the 2 separate SWAT raids, and presumably family members, writes the Daily Mail. Now, this is a quote. I stay in touch with them, mostly Savannah. I've not been in touch with Tommaso or Annie too much. I have talked to them a little bit, but I know the investigators are in touch with them. But I've really told people this is a lot of stress. If he, Tommaso Cioni, is guilty, if he's the one who did it, and we're able to prove that, then at that time, jump on it. But don't come out of nowhere with this, he writes. I understand the pundits are out there. They're going to say, well, he's the last one to see her alive. We understand that stuff. But my goodness, you're putting a mark on somebody who could be completely innocent. And more important than that, he's family. It's also why, writes the Daily Mail, Nano said, he will not specify who was with Nancy when she was driven home from Cioni and Andy Guthrie's home after going to their house, which is about 10 minutes away for dinner and a game night. Listen to this. Quote, we know who it is, meaning who drove Nancy home. Hello, we do too, because you told us. You told the New York Times that it was Tommaso. But now here he is saying, quote, we know who it is, but when we saw everybody was attacking everybody and saying it's this, we just thought, you know what? We'll say it was family. Well, that could have worked perfectly, Sheriff, if only you hadn't gone on the record with the New York Times the day before and said it was Tommaso. This is like, I'm sorry, but this is where you get a little Keystone-y. Nano said the entire Guthrie family has been, quote, nothing but cooperative, end quote, at every turn, despite what for them is a nightmare without end. Quote, everything we've asked for, they've given us. They're in such a state of grief, but they're also, you know, I think they're a little weary too of what's been going on and being said about them, end quote. Nanos will also not reveal if there were any signs of forced entry, nor give details as to whether Nancy was taken out the back or front door to what presumably was a waiting vehicle. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Like, how do you expect to get away with that, Sheriff? You went on the record with the New York Times and said it was Tommaso, and now you want us to just forget that and just, quote, go with family? And then you tell the Daily Mail that this is exactly why you changed it to family, which we only suspected before. We didn't know for sure whether you were just confused about it, but now we know for sure you have no confusion and you changed it because you felt bad for Tommaso. Okay. We all feel bad for Tommaso if he's innocent in all of this, but until you guys tell us he's ruled out, he's on the table. And that's what we're being told by other law enforcement as well. I mean, this is how an investigation goes. And he was the last person seen with her. And obviously you always look at family when you're trying to rule out what may have happened, especially in this case to an 84-year-old woman who was kidnapped and possibly killed. And it's not, as we've been saying, like a baby where there's a market for this type of person if they, you know, wind up the victim of a kidnapper. Okay. Law enforcement also saying, heard the number now, that they've received 40,000 tips. 40,000. I mean, that's huge. And Sheriff Nano saying publicly now that There will be a lot of police activity every day in this case. There was a report over the weekend that the Pima County Sheriff's Department was using helicopters with the so-called signal sniffers underneath the tracks to possibly ferret out any pacemaker signals coming from down below. Now, I don't know what their capability is. We know that the actual pacemaker in Nancy Guthrie will not connect with its iPhone if it's more, we've heard, between 10 and 30 feet away from her. Maybe these signal sniffers have higher sensitivity and can connect farther from that, because I can't get within 30 feet in a helicopter from somebody's house. I think that would be scaring a lot of residents. So it's got to be more sensitive than that, but great technology if they can use it. I mean, I only wish that it had been used every day since the day she went missing, ubiquitously, because it seems a little late to be trying that. We are told that the pacemaker signal will go on even post-mortem. It will continue to transmit. So in other words, if you got Nancy's iPhone within 30 feet of her right now, no matter where she is, dead or alive, her pacemaker would still be signaling. So
much on the table, so much information, and we don't know nothing. We don't know for sure. There is no guarantees that no one's involved, right? If somebody, some people, or a group of people, could be the small town of Tucson itself, right? Who knows? Who knows?